beautifully. So we started. Welcome everyone to another episode of Gripsport Latino. Today we have another honorable guest from Canada, Mr. Andrew Nguyen. Correct me if I said it wrong, but Andrew, how are you today?
Excellent. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Nice. It's actually super interesting for me as well because I didn't have like a face for the brand, and I want to know who is behind
Mm,
Nemesis Grips, and I want to know more about you as an athlete and what do you do and many other questions. But I want to start with the classic first question of my
sure.
interviews. Tell me, who is Andrew Nguyen?
So first of all, um, I try to keep Nemesis grips not just about me, and that's why you won't see a lot of personal photos or video of myself. I try to capture other athletes within the community because I want Nemesis athletes to be part of the community. Rather, it's not just about me, right? So that's kind of why I've been hiding behind the
Yeah.
scenes. That's why I hide behind the scenes. But a little bit about me is um, uh, I was born and raised in Ottawa, Canada. I've
Yes.
lived here all my life. My family was originally from Vietnam,
Yes.
and my parents immigrated to Canada uh, in the 1980s and started their life here. And they've always taught me that uh, hard work pays off, right? So um, I've taken that approach with basically everything in my life to try to work hard in everything that I do. So I went to school for science. So I have a undergraduate degree in science, and with that, I currently work for the government. I work for Health Canada um, as part of the federal government here in Canada, and I work in regulating um, health products that are regulated in Canada. So it's not too exciting to talk about, but I'll leave it at that because that's just only one aspect of my life. Um, Other than that, I live on the farm, kind of a hobby farm. My wife and I we have 21 ducks and geese.
Okay.
Um, we don't have any children, so in lieu of that, we have farm animals, and we have ducks and geese. So it's very fun to have them around. It adds a lot of personality um,
Yes.
to the home, right? And they lay eggs for us, so we don't ever have to buy eggs from the grocery store. Um,
Oh, nice. Actually, it's
yeah.
it's one of my dreams to do that. In Chile, it's really common to
Okay.
have like with chickens, to have your own farm with chickens in like in your backyard, in example. But my wife is
Yeah.
not like, oh, the chickens are going to be like smelly. So I am convincing her to have that one day, like our own farm. I am like feeling like the call for that life in the
Yeah.
countryside, you know?
Yeah, it's very good for your grip. I can I can guarantee
Yeah.
you will be using your grip every day on the farm. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
And
yeah. Go ahead. What were
give
you
me
gonna
one
say?
second. My internet, it's like putting me like ashamed. Let me change it because I don't want to lose any of the like good answer that you are going to give me.
Hmm,
Now we're good. We're good. Yeah.
okay.
So, Andrew, I want to know. which sports did you play like while growing up? Did you play sports in college? When did you started like doing any sports discipline?
I would say as a kid, I did a lot of soccer,
Yes.
um, just recreational soccer, nothing competitive. Um, and then in high school was still soccer because that was like there wasn't a lot of facilities um, on the school ground, so there are only a few options, right? To for sports, it's there's football, there's baseball, there's soccer, there's maybe volleyball, but there wasn't much else. Um, but then in university is when I really started to do more sports. So in university, I did a lot of racket sports. So I did, badminton. That was a big one for me during university. I was the head coach of the badminton team for 1 year.
Nice.
That was super fun. So that was uh, that was a good time. And then I tried playing squash,
Okay.
table tennis, and tennis because I just love all the racket sports. That was something uh, that was very enjoyable for me. And that's kind of when I first started looking into grip because you need to be able to hold the racket. And the stronger your
Yes.
grip, the more, I guess, power and skill you can bring to your game, right? So because you're holding the racket by the handle and you need good grip, right? So
Yes.
that's kind of the first, time I really looked into training for grip. So a lot of wrist, pronation, supination, a lot of wrist stuff. Um, I had made a very heavy racket. Like I took a tennis racket and I added like weight plates and duct tape the weight to the racket to make the racket heavier. And I would just
Mm.
practice to swinging the heavy racket so that when I go into competition,
Yes.
it's lighter, right? But um, but that was that was university. University was all about racket sports, right?
Hey.
After that, um, I was introduced by some friends into rock climbing, and so
Interesting.
I I immediately fell in love with climbing. Just it was it was I completely gave up all my racket sports so that I can focus on climbing because it was I loved it so much. It's such a full body sport, but also very individual, right? I love the individual aspect of climbing, but also the support that I got from the community to help me grow as a climber. Um, and I basically stuck with climbing all the way until now. Like I when I have the time now, then I will go climbing as that's my sport, my main sport. Um, I started grip about a year ago, and
Okay.
the grip sport is very new to me, like very new. um, my first grip competition was last year's Canadian National. So Eric Rusin um, hosted Canadian Nationals here in Ottawa, and a friend of mine, um, uh, Yves Gravel. I'm not sure if you know him, but
Of course, he is
of
one
course,
of the most famous in Canada. Yes, well, I've been into grip like since 2018, and I am super curious, especially from the other countries. So I know Yves, of course. Yes.
okay, excellent. Yeah, so being a friend of him, I was talking to him at the climbing gym. I said, "Hey, look, I'm starting to get more into the grip stuff, and I really like it." And so he said, "Oh, by the way, Eric is hosting, nationals coming up, and like, I'm not qualified for national. It's like, oh no, no, you don't need to qualify. You just need to show up.
Nice.
Uh, so I showed up, and immediately, like it became, one of the things I want to do for the rest of my life, like climbing, right? Like I knew instantly this is so good. Um, and up till then, I didn't know grip sport existed. I always knew that there were grip tools out there.
Yes.
And I had bought a few over the course of my lifetime, but I didn't know that it was an actual sport
Yeah.
until Eves and Eric told me about them. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know. um, so so anytime there's a competition here in Ottawa, I will attend, and um, I usually compete in the lowest weight class. Like for King Kong, I was in the I know the 59 kilo class, so in the lightest
Okay.
class. Um, and within that class, I'm still the lightest person. So um, I often get like a lower lift than everyone else because I'm so light. and
Yes.
but that's okay, Um, I you know I try to find multiple ways to contribute to the sport, and um, anytime whenever Eric is hosting, I donate door prizes. I make implements for him to donate. Um, I try to donate to other competitions. Um, I guess around the world. Um, Gradually, there's more and more events coming up that have reached out to me to ask for donations, and I usually um, am happy to help.
Nice. So
Yeah,
coming like back to, I wanted to ask you, uh, who introduced you into the sport? I guess it was Ips, right? Did you knew about the
I
sport
think
through Ips or through Instagram? How was it?
I think I saw a video on YouTube of Eves doing some like lifting weight from the ground.
Yes.
Um, and so the next time I saw him at the gym, I asked him about it. It's like, hey, when you lift weight from the ground with an implement, um, and he told me that that was an actual sport. So I guess it was Eves, and then Eric kind of, took it the rest of the way. Eric told me about, oh yeah, it's this whole big thing, um, and he, basically, I'd say the both of them introduced me, and so um, very quickly I became very involved with the sport. I hosted the first grip competition last summer. We
Yes.
had called it Feather Crush, and Feather Crush was a women's only grip competition. And the reason we started that was because my wife also attended Canadian Nationals last year,
Okay.
and she was also the lightest in her class. Uh, and so a lot of the starting weights
Yes.
were very heavy, right?
Mm.
They were designed for higher weight classes. So even the warm up weights were pretty heavy for my wife. And so when the competition started, she was only able to lift the first or second increment before before her turn was done, and she failed, right? Like, so it wasn't fun for her because she only got to lift one or two times, whereas everyone else would come up and lift 10 times or more.
Yes.
um, so after that, we decided, you know what, we're going to do our own competition where we're going to start at a lower weight,
Yes.
and we're going to increment by a smaller amount each time. So we spoke with Eric and said, hey, how do we launch our own competition? It's like, oh, it's very simple. You have it sanctioned by GSI, and you decide what implements you want, and then you know here are the rules that you need to follow, and so we did that, and uh, we set I guess the Canadian record for highest turnout of women in that first competition with 15 women.
15,
Um,
nice.
15, yeah, 15. Um, and to give you an idea, at nationals there were only 5 women.
That's
So
a really, I think, I won't say that that's an issue, but it's a challenge for all the promoters to have more women involved. And that's why I
yeah,
wanted to touch that topic, so to speak, because
yeah,
it's the first time that I ever saw anything like that. I mean, you launched your Instagram of Nemesis Grips, and I actually, as soon as I see grip on any Instagram, it's like, wow, follow. And
yeah,
since I saw that you have equipment, it was like, oh, amazing. And then I saw the tournament just for females. Wow, it was like, this guy is genius. I want to know more about it. So it's good to know that there were 15 and that it was successful. I really like it. And I'd like to replicate something like that here in South America because
awesome.
I
Yeah,
love like more
definitely.
participation, especially more participation from women in a sport that is like crowded with men. So it's not
Yeah,
like it's not the same approach than telling to
yeah,
your men friends, "Hey, come try to lift," versus doing it like with females. I mean,
yeah,
that's what I think before approaching my female friends and doing it. I'm gonna do it in the future. But yeah, it
yeah,
was a great initiative, Andrew.
yeah, yeah. And I think we've hosted 3 of them so far, and
Yes.
they've all been very successful. And the next one that we're hosting is this coming next Saturday. Is the next one that we're hosting.
Okay.
And we're hoping for between maybe 15 to 25 women to come out. Um, the sometimes I joke with Eric that one day I will bring 30 women to one of his competitions, and he gets scared because it's a lot of consideration to have 30 women there in addition to maybe 30 men, and then you have to try to get all the lifts in that one day. Um,
It's it's a lot. I think it should be like in powerlifting, like having two stages, one for the men and one for
yes,
the women in parallel, so
in
it can
parallel,
work
I
out
think so.
in
Yeah,
one day. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So um, for King Kong, I hosted the women's,
Yes.
and Eric hosted the men's. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, because there was no way we're gonna do both on the same day. It was gonna be too long of a day. Yeah, yeah.
And
So
in this tournament, uh, have there like been only women from Canada or from the US or another country?
so far it's only Canada and only local women. So the women in Ottawa. But the
Okay.
intention the intention is to eventually do it multi-venue. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so a lot of um, friends of Nemesis, um,
Yes.
you know, they are very interested in participating in the multi-venue competition. So potentially, yes, we can have the dream is to have something like King Kong, but only for women, only for
Nice.
women. Yeah,
Well, if I, being a man, can be the host and have female athletes, count on
yeah,
me because I am into that. I love the project. It sounds really good. So
excellent,
I mean,
awesome. All right,
I
okay,
mean
excellent.
to be the host. I am not going to compete, of course, but to be the
Of course,
host, I mean,
perfect, awesome. Yeah,
I want to know, Andrew, a little more about yourself before to jump 100% into Nemesis Grip. Which are
Sure.
your goals with Grip Sport this year, like as an athlete?
As an athlete,
Yeah,
uh, I want to be able to do a lot of pull-ups on rolling handles.
nice.
So, recently Tammy did, 15
The re-
pull-ups on the Rolling Thunders, right?
yes, shout out to Tammy, who's a
Yes.
client of Nemesis Grips. We have spoke about you about the paintings, so she's in love with Nemesis Grip, and she's super strong.
She
Shout out to Tammy.
she's a she's a Nemesis athlete. She's a sponsored athlete of Nemesis.
Excellent.
Uh, but she's very strong. She's very strong, and I look up to her. I look up to a lot of both men and women um, in their own ways of being strong. Like, it doesn't matter if I can lift more than them or less than them. There's something that I can learn from each and every one of them, right? So when I you know look at Tammy, for example, she's for sure she can lift more than me on some things, and then there's some things I can lift more than her. Um, but there is definitely a lot to learn there, and I try to do it with everyone. Like yourself, for example. Like I I see value in your contribution to the sport. You host these shows. You do a lot of the community events, um, which makes me want to do more. Right? That I draw a lot of inspiration from other people. But to come back to the point of personal athletic goal,
Yes.
I I want to be able to do, I would say, not this year, but eventually I wanted to be able to do maybe 50 pull-ups on rolling thunders.
That's
That's
hard.
that's hard. And it's very specialized, I guess. They're very, very specific to that skill. But I find that it's a good way for me to train grip, because when I take the rolling handle and I lift it from the ground,
Yes.
I activate, my hands, my forearms, my upper arms, and maybe my shoulder. But the rest of my body is not really activated. Maybe a little bit, but when I put them up on the bar and do pull-ups, I feel like the whole body is being activated. And so if I don't have enough of grip strength to hold on, I will fall. So my mind thinks I need to work harder to hold on to these rolling handles. But if I'm
Nice.
lifting it from the ground, there's no consequence. If I'm not strong enough, it doesn't come off the ground. There's no consequence. I'm not going to fall, right? That's the same for climbing. I love climbing. Climbing, either you're on the wall or you're not on the wall, right? If you're strong
Yes.
enough to hold on, you stay on, and if you're not strong enough, you fall. So that's why I like, this mix of grip and climbing. So I I much rather, put the implements up and then do pull-ups on them, because it's more full body.
I think it's something that it's not like not something that everybody does these days. I mean, or at least not like common in the content that I watch on Instagram. Like the most common content, it's like the inch dumbbells, the blobs, the grippers, but
Mhm.
body weight movements are not so common. I remember Tanner Merkel from Texas doing one
Okay.
arm pull-ups with the rolling handles or with the little big
Yeah.
horn. Those are amazing feats of strength. And I think
Yeah.
we should aim for them as well. Today, on the get together that I just had with my friends, a couple of climbers came and they had like 3-inch jogs and they were like,
Oh.
hey, who can do pull ups here? And I tried and I was like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. It's very hard. Yeah.
It's hard. And the guys who were like 74 kilograms on average, they were like
Yeah.
shh, shh, doing the pull-ups, and it was like, wow, a new challenge. Or an example, if you have a 50 millimeter block, trying to just hang from it,
Oh, it's
it's
just
not
hang from
easy.
it. Yeah, it's
It's
not
not
easy,
easy.
no.
Can you do it? Have you tried?
I haven't tried, but usually pinching it for me is very hard. Like I need to work on my pinch strength.
Okay, but
Yeah,
those are really nice challenges. Which is the
yeah.
next competition that you would like to go, Andrew?
I signed up for North Americans, the one that Eric is hosting here in Ottawa.
Nice.
So that's my next one. Um, yeah, I'm fairly busy throughout the year, so um, if it's if it's in Ottawa, I will go. It's very easy. I don't have to travel. I'll go. But if it's outside of Ottawa, it's a little bit more difficult for me to find time to go. Um, Plus, I have ducks here, so the ducks and the geese they need some maintenance, right? They need to be um, fed. They need to be put away every night, taken out in the morning. You know, it's hard to travel when you live on a farm.
That sounds like a downside of being responsible for the farm. I will think it twice, but I want to do it as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You need a partner. You need a partner, which you now have. Um, but I think it's worth it. I think like I I work with my hands all the time, right? Like either I'm farming or I'm doing grip sport or I'm manufacturing for Nemesis. Like it's always working with my hands, um, which is I think is good training. To keep them healthy.
Andrew, there's one question from the
Hmm.
audience that I'd like to ask you before we jump
Sure.
into the history of Nemesis scripts. This one is from Lucas Valatka. He is from Lithuania, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
He says, "You make amazing grip tools, but how amazing are you at using them? How strong is your grip?" You could say right here, like, how much do you lift on pinch, finish ball, anything that you'd like.
My grip is not strong. That is the simple answer. Is I spend more time making grip tools than using them. So uh, the last few months has been really busy with Nemesis. So I've been maybe gripping like 1 hour a week at the most. Probably do like 15 minutes on average. I don't get a lot of time to train for grip. But my grip stays fairly strong just from using my hands all the time. Like
Yes.
um, I I always I always ask myself, like if I have time, do I spend that time training my own grip, or do I spend that time making grip tools for other people to train their grip? I always have that choice, right? I can choose myself, or I can
Yes.
choose everyone else, and I always choose everyone else. I never I never choose myself. No, um, because like what I always ask like what value do I get from you know increasing my personal record for a lift, on a pinch or on a finished ball, whatever implement. Like what value does that bring to me? And I compare that to the value of being able to provide grip tools for everyone else. And that is always higher value, right? Like if my, I don't know, if my finished ball, I don't remember what I can lift on it, we'll just say like 25 pounds, or just for example, 25. If I go from 25 to 30 pounds, it's not, it's not special to me. It's just like, oh, that's an increase of 5 pounds. Uh, you know, I'll celebrate for a second, but that's it. That's you know. to me, there's more value in making finished balls for other people and making many of them so that people have access and be able to train, and each and every one of them have personal records, right? And I can look back and say, hey, you know what? That person increased their PR by 5 pounds. This person by 5 pounds. This person by 5 pounds. And overall, it's much more weight than just me getting 5 pounds. So I always look at that from that perspective is, am I increasing the strength of one person or the strength of multiple people? And I always choose the one that has the multiple people. So my grip is not great. Whenever Eric hosts something, I usually come last place.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you are, I mean, you sound like you are completely happy fulfilling your mission. So I want to know what's the origin of Nemesis Grip? When did you like, was it a day that you wake up and you said to yourself, I want to found a cool grip company, or how was it?
It was early last year, in the spring of last year, um, after going to nationals, the one that Eric hosted,
Yes.
I got really into it. After that competition, I wanted to do more competition, and I started getting feedback from other athletes in the community that it's very difficult to get these tools, or it's very expensive, or they have to import from somewhere. They don't make them here in Ottawa. They don't make them in Canada. So that's why I got the feedback, and then I took a look at these tools, and I took a look at the ones that I've personally bought for myself, and I say, hey, you know what? I could probably make these myself, right?
Sure.
And my dad had done a little bit of metal work back in the day because he was a handyman. He's retired now, but he had a welding machine that he
Nice.
left for me. He passed down to me. It's a very old one. It's not that great. I've replaced it since, but I started playing with it. I started playing and seeing if I could make my own grip tools. And
Nice.
my first few were just terrible. It's it's nothing even close to what I currently do. But the lesson I learned from my parents is, you have to work hard. So I tried again. I tried to look up lessons on YouTube on how to do metalworking and welding, and um, I self-taught. I didn't go to school for metalworking. I went to school for science, right? So I with a lot of practice and experimenting and trial and error, I finally was able to do it properly. Um, and so it's like, okay, yeah, I can make my own grip tools now. And so um, there was a competition that Eric hosted. I think there's one of the Super Series, if you know that one, the Super Series,
Our
like
lifting
stage
USA. Sure.
from arm lifting. Yeah. So I told Eric I would donate uh, some implements that I made. And I had made some made of marble. So I had made a rolling handle of marble. I had made a pinch. I had made a vertical implement made of marble. And so I donated those to uh, one of the competitions. And then um, the athletes who won those as door prizes,
Yes.
they asked me, it's like, hey, can you can you make other things? Can you make more? I'm like, I guess I could make more. What do you want? I'll try to make it. And so, one thing led to the next, and then other people started to find out that I was able to make these tools. And I just started making them locally, just for the friends and people of the community here, um, until it started. growing quickly. Um, and then I realized, you know what? I'm probably the only one in Canada doing this right now, um, making grip tools at this level. Um, and then one of my friends asked, "Hey, are you on Instagram?" I'm like, "No, I'm not on Instagram." He's like, "Hey, you should open up an Instagram account and take pictures of the stuff that you make." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll do that." So I opened my Instagram in June and just started posting the things I made. Um, and that started picking up, and people started messaging me wanting to buy stuff. Um, and then eventually I launched the website in September. Um, and yeah, it's I guess that wasn't too long ago that happened. Um, but to circle back to your original question, like the origin was there was a need from the community, and this was my way to respond to that need, right? I I I do a good job at listening. That's what I do, and I is what I still do. And Nemesis wouldn't be where it is without everyone, right? It's not about me. It's about everyone else and what they need, um, what their feedback is for the sport, how to improve the sport. Are there uh, gaps in the types of tools available? I'm always trying to listen to what other people are saying because I've only been in the sport for a year. I'm not an expert. Eric is an expert. I'm not an expert, so I have to depend on everyone else to tell me what is it that is needed right now for the sport. So that's why, like I keep saying, Nemesis is very much a team effort. It's very much a community driven. It's it's not just a store that sells goods, right? It's more of a movement. It's a transformation for the sport, and everything I do with Nemesis is for the purpose of transformation. So that's why I host the women competitions. That's why I release those new implements that are very unique. The whole point is to transform, but not just the tools, right? I want to transform the community as well, right?
That's perfect, man. I really like what I hear. I am curious about the name. Why is it called Nemesis?
That's a funny story. um, very, very simply put, when I was climbing, uh, I would always call, whenever I struggled with a climb or I failed a climb multiple times, I would call that climb my nemesis.
Okay.
And I would move on to the next climb and try it. And if I failed that one, I would call it my nemesis. And my wife would always make fun of me because like, Andrew, you can't keep calling everything your nemesis. Like everything I do, like um, we get a lot of snow and I have to shovel the driveway, then the weather or Mother Nature is my nemesis. So I was
Okay.
using that term for everything, and my wife was just getting so annoyed because it doesn't make sense anymore. So it's just like I should start using a different word. But no, I love that word. I use that word for everything. Um, so when it came down to picking a name, of course I picked Nemesis. um, but I looked up the definition, right? I looked up the definition, and it fits really well with grip because Nemesis is basically the thing that is responsible for your failure, for your downfall. It's the thing that keeps coming back It's your opponent that always wins against you, right? And I think that's very true in grip because when you're able to grip something, it it's not your nemesis. Your nemesis is always the thing that you're the goal that you're trying to achieve, the thing that you don't have right now that you want, or you have another athlete who's always kicking your butt.
Yeah.
Um, and within, even if you're not competing, even if you're by yourself, you're training, you're trying to beat your own personal record. So you are your own nemesis. So I think nemesis is a very nice complement to the word grip. Um, just because of that. And the definition of grip is actually very, it's the opposite of nemesis. The definition of grip is having control over something, right? So the two together is a very uh, nice, yin and yang is very opposite, but they fit really well together. And so I decided to stick with that, and it now that I'm making a lot of the originals that are very tricky, the original implements,
Yes.
it really is representative of Nemesis because they're just so tricky, right? Like the uh, the rolling hub, the rolling key pinch or the rolling thumber, everything's very tricky. So you can say that, oh, that's kind of your nemesis. Like you don't want to touch it because it's not nice to you. It won't let you lift more than 40 pounds. It's very mean, so it's your nemesis.
Do you happen to
Yeah.
have the rolling hub near to you
Not,
right now?
no, I had given that away recently as part of the door prize, so I would have to make more, but I have
Oh,
um I have my rolling thumber with me.
nice. I really like the
Uh,
quality and it's shiny, it's
yeah,
colorful. I
it's
love that.
it's shiny, it's nice, yeah. Um,
And how do you grab
but
it? It's like this, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like this. Yeah. And then
Nice.
the thumb wants to come off, right? So um this is this is the definition of nemesis. This is the the implement that will make you fail. it's it's brutal, it's frustrating, it's not nice, right? When you pick up I don't know, a rolling handle, people are picking up over 100 pounds. It makes you feel strong. You can pick up a lot of weight, but this 40 pounds is very heavy on this, right? I think the record right now, Zach holds the record with 60 pounds, I think. Um, but it's very humbling. It's very you don't need a lot of weight to be challenged, and I think that's very in line of what Nemesis is. Is Nemesis wants to provide a challenge all the time, right? Things can't be easy because life is not easy, right? We can't just
Yes.
go and lift something. No, it's I want people to train to deal with difficulties, right? And if anything, this trains the mind really well because you have to focus more. You can't just go up and just pick it up. You
Yes.
have to focus. So you have to put your thumb on. You have to concentrate. And this is the same with all the originals. You have to really focus. And that's how I think people can improve in their training is that if you're focused on the training, you'll make progress. But if you don't focus, if it's too easy, then of course you're not going to make gains. It has to be hard, right?
Perfect. And to finish, like the part of let's say brand concept. I see on your banner that there's like a piece of chess, let's say, and it's like an animal, like a deer. So what's the things that we can see on the bottom of the logo?
Yeah, so you have uh, it's half half animal and half person.
Oh,
So like the Minotaur is like
yes.
half of two different animals. Um, there are lots of other beasts and creatures that are half of one thing and half of another thing. So this is half of a mountain goat
Okay.
and half of a person, because I think that within each one of us as people, we have an inner animal. There's an animal within us. Um, you could say that that animal is the one that drives your strength, or that animal is your nemesis and is responsible for your downfall. Um, but you have to have control over your own inner animal or nemesis if you want to succeed, right? You know, to get good at grip, I think you need to beat yourself. You need to defeat yourself first, right? Grip is not about defeating the other guy in your weight class. You know, grip is it's about you. It's about your own grip. So it's you that you need to defeat, right? So this banner represents this mixture of both yourself and the animal or the nemesis within you that you have to defeat. You have to always defeat. Even if you hit your PR, there's still the next PR. Like it doesn't end, right? You can be the strongest in the world. You can close a COC number 4, right? And and what happens next? Oh, you're the number 1 in the world. Now what? Well, you have to look inside you and defeat yourself now, and close the COC number 5. You know, if that ever came out. So there's no limit to how strong your grip can get. You don't. You have to set yourself your own standard. You can't look at someone else and say, I want to defeat that person, and that's it. No. Well, once you defeat that person, you have to look up to see who's next. And most of the time it's yourself, right? So that's why the logo is like that. I also like mountain goats, because mountain
Yes.
goats climb. They climb on the side of mountains, and they're cute. So
Perfect. Did you get any inspiration from other grip brands to build your own brand?
uh, definitely, for sure. Um, Mostly for the generic implements like rolling handles and pinches. Those were very easy decisions to make. Everyone needs the basics, right? Everyone needs a pinch block. Everyone needs a vertical handle. So inspiration might not be the right word for deciding to make those pieces, because those are very generic. Everyone does them, right? Everyone has rolling handles. Everyone has pinch blocks. So of course I had to do them. Um, in terms of inspiration for the originals that I create myself, I I look at existing grip products out there from all manufacturers, and I say, how can I make this different? Or how can I make this more challenging? Take the hub, for example. Everyone has hubs. Everyone makes
Yes.
hubs. How do I make the hub more difficult? Oh, I just put a roller on it. Then it becomes very difficult. And
Yes.
I keep hearing people say, "Oh, my weakness is my thumb. My thumb is the weak point. My pinch is weak." Okay, well, I just put the roller on the thumb side to force you to train your thumb, right? So you'll see a lot of the Nemesis originals will be very focused on thumbs because that's a big weakness for a lot of people, including myself. So inspiration, I say it's a little bit of other existing grip tools in that I try to find ways to improve them or make them more difficult. And then the other half of the inspiration is the community. So I will get feedback from athletes saying, um, this is very easy for me. I can do it. I can do 100, like a lot of pounds on this lift, and I'm like, that's a lot of weight. You need to that grip must be very easy if you're able to lift 200 pounds on something. That's that triggers for me to think, okay, maybe there's a way to make that more difficult. Some people play with textures and they remove the texture to make it difficult, but I I don't like doing that because that's the easy way out. Like I like to find innovative ways to make something more difficult, making something more dynamic. You can't just go up and grab it. You have to actually position your hand and focus in order to lift, right? Um, that's, but I'd say the inspiration continues every every day, and um, just I have to go out there and spend time with people and hear what they have to say. And some of them have lots of great ideas. Um, and so that's kind of my primary source of inspiration. Is like, how do I address the need of the community right now? Like, how do I make things more difficult so that their training is more effective? Um, I like to make things tricky. I like to make things challenging. Um, and I've challenged myself um, to release new originals every month.
New
So
originals every month.
every month,
Challenging. Really good, man.
very challenging because I don't get off the hook for free, right? I'm making these really difficult tools and making it very hard for people. It can't be easy for me. I have to make it hard for me as well. So I've challenged myself to continue to innovate monthly. Um, I'm hoping between one or two per month. Um,
Nice.
so
Because
yeah,
it's not easy to be like with the level of innovation that you have made. It's it's a great work, man, and I want to recognize that
thank
from
you.
you and your project because there has been a while since I have not been a tool like the Rolling Hub or the Rolling
Hmm.
Thumber. It's like
Yeah,
it even has a cool name. So it's like, whoa, this guy is thinking out of the box. I thought I was
yeah,
thinking like that. Then I saw the colors. You have fully colorful implements.
yes.
And that
Oh
makes
yeah,
me like think or like two things. Well, firstly, I wanted to mention that the one that the block that you had like painted with like an anime character, it was really
yes.
nice. And I
Oh nice.
wonder when you
Yeah.
use it, do they like still look like if you use the block, will it erase what you painted? Will it turn white, or does it maintain its shape, so to speak? I am
I
curious.
I I I think there's a lifetime
Yes.
uh for the painting, right? Like any coating on anything, it over time it wears down. So just like anything else, the painting um should wear down over time depending on how much the athlete is using. But I do put a clear coat to
Oh,
protect it. yeah, there's a clear coat that goes on top that hopefully lasts a while. Um, but the whole point of that is to make people feel like what they have is special, right? Um, if they have friends who come over, they can't just show them, hey, look at my black pinch block. It's so cool. And people are like, oh, cool. That's a black pinch block. Who, where's it from? Oh, it's from this company. But everyone has black pinch blocks, right? But if
Yes.
your friends see, oh, look at my pinch block that has an anime character, and you can say that no one else in the world has one like that, it makes it makes the owner of that pinch block feel very special, right? And that's my objective. My objective is to make people feel more special with the tools that they have, that they can say that no one else has something like that, right? Um, and so that's the whole point with the colors. All the colors, um, people have like different colors. Black is not the favorite color for a lot of people, so um, it's good for people to have options, right? Uh, so yeah,
And it's super good. Andrew, to like
yeah,
to finish our interview, I had like two final questions. The
sure.
first one is if you happen to have a question for me or for the Gripsport Latino project. Anything. You can surprise me if you want.
Uh, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
You mean as a grip guy, right?
Anything,
Anything.
anything.
Well,
Yeah.
as a grip guy, I hope to have lifted the inch dumbbell, the Fatman
Okay.
blob, and I see myself meeting you in Canada in a contest, at least. I
Oh,
plan to
okay.
travel. I plan to travel a lot.
Okay.
Actually, this year I'd like to go to the US for heavy hands.
Okay.
That's my
Okay.
goal.
Nice.
I see myself like, do you know the Dini Stones?
Yes.
I hope to have them lifted in 5 years. I hope to have lifted that too.
Okay.
So uh, I see myself with my goals accomplished. I see myself with a company, Gripsport Latino, who has grip competitions, a bigger podcast, and I see myself being able to provide all the Latin American community with grip tools and grip contests, and to show these beautiful sports to Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay,
Nice.
Uruguay, all of that. Because when I
Yeah.
had my first competition in the US, I was fully in love with the sport. I mean, I practiced the sport here in Chile since 2018, but it was just me by myself in my
Yeah.
apartment having a great time and
Yeah.
watching all of my friends on Instagram having like gatherings, get-togethers, competitions, and I was like, oh, I want to have a competition too. And I went to New York to a competition, and it was like a life-changing experience. Really good vibes,
Oh yeah.
everyone like cheering up for each other, like a
Yeah.
nice and constructive environment. So
Yeah.
I see myself in 5 years like with more grip in my life, with a solid company, yeah, a company that can listen to what people want to do or to lift. In example, all the companies do rolling handles, pinch blocks, hops. But what if here in Chile people love key pinch, finish balls,
Mm.
stops,
Hmm.
double finish balls? We don't know. Or what if they love Saxon bars
Yeah.
or pull-ups with two little big horns? I have to
Yeah.
discover that and give that to the community so we can have a lot of fun and we can show the world that there's talent in Latin America. There's talent, interest, and
Excellent.
that's pretty much it. I That's what I would love to do, and that's what I
Yeah.
will do in the next 5 years.
Awesome. That's a very fantastic goal for 5 years. Yeah. No,
I
I would
hope to
love
make it.
to see the outcome.
Yeah, I hope to make it in less than 5 years and have like new and bigger goals to fulfill in
Yes.
those 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So, Andrew, this is
mhm,
the final question.
sure.
We have had a really lovely episode. So, which message would you love to share with the community to finish this interview?
I would like to thank everyone for their support with Nemesis. Uh, but even if they haven't bought anything, they've provided a lot of value to me in learning from them how they participate in the sport. And I love seeing them progress and compete and continue to grow the sport and help encourage their friends in their community to come into the sport. So I just want to thank everyone for their contribution. Every single one um, uh, plays a very important role in growing this community. So that's the message I want to pass to everyone.
Perfect, Andrew. I want to thank you for your time. It was really nice to meeting you face to face on
Likewise,
Zoom. It
yes,
was really good to have this chat, and I hope you to like. I wish you the best with the brand, with your
thank you,
farm, with all your projects, and I hope to
thank
see
you.
you again in another episode of Gripsport Latino because there are more
Yes,
topics to discuss,
oh, absolutely.
projects, and a lot to talk about in the future. So I am
Awesome.
going to stop the recording and Grips for Latino friends. See you on the next time.